Buonasera a tutti. Good evening, all. I'm Gina Crusco, and this is Music for Interesting Times. Today we're featuring James Bassi, composer, and wearing many other hats. And the name of our program is James Bassi, From the Village to the Vatican. And you'll find out why as we go along. Well, we know that we have a neighborhood together that we share in Greenwich Village, and we're going to see where we go from there. Also joining us today will be Dennis Keene, the director of Voices of Ascension, and we're very happy to have both of these gents with us. So, James Bassi, welcome. As I said, you're a composer, arranger, you're also a music director, singer, pianist, and you'll be wearing many of those hats with us today. Maybe you're not going to direct yourself.
I don't think that would be possible.
But many of the other hats that you wear, we're going to show all your many talents, and we're very happy to have you.
I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you, Gina.
You bet. So, and we're all grateful to Casa Italia, Zerilli-Marimò for sponsoring us. And, you know, I like to say that a true musician not only works with the greats as you do, but also with the grassroots. And your spirit of building community and reaching out to all is really exactly what we need in these times and all times. So we're trying to, Music for Interesting Times tries to keep us inspiring each other, even as everything around us seems to conspire to make us unhappy and miserable. But we're fighting against that tooth and nail. So I know that you have done cabaret with Tova Feldshuh and toured with her, that you're rehearsal pianist for the New York Philharmonic, is particularly when they have a choral piece and have worked with the greats. Tell us a couple of the great conductors who you've worked with under that aegis.
Oh, well, I'm grateful to say it's quite a list. Pierre Boulez, Riccardo Muti, Alan Gilbert, Ricardo Chailly, to name a few.
Wonderful, amazing. Yeah. And also, you know, as an educator, you, I know, teach piano and composition via Zoom these days.
I do.
And,
yes.
And also our composition, as a composition teacher, you've worked with young people and mentored high school age novice composers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, Liz Norman, who's the executive director for Voices of Ascension, so it really is all in the family tonight. She used to be the education director for Orchestra of St. Luke's, and we developed an after-school composers program that built slowly over a few seasons until the kids were getting a school credit for it. And one of the pinnacle experiences was we got to get the high school orchestra at LaGuardia to collaborate with St. Luke's in an orchestral choral work, which I wrote. And a couple of the students from that program became wonderful composers that I mentored for several years, and it became sort of a natural extension of my work as a teacher.
That's just what the music world needs. So thank you for that wonderful service.
Thank you.
And we're just sorry that we're not getting to hear your orchestral arrangements and compositions tonight, but we're hearing so much else.
The sequel, we'll get
We'll have the sequel, right. So I would like to ask you to tell us a little bit about your project, The Red Carpet. So The Red Carpet is a very suggestive title. I know that we're going to hear you sing and play some selections. This is, I believe, a complete world premiere. I haven't even heard anything. So you're going to surprise me.
Yes, the ink is still wet. I had an idea. I wanted to write a piece that dealt with the communist hearings that started in 1947 and sadly went through the 50s and into the 60s, needlessly destroying a lot of lives and careers. And I got together with a very talented man, Stephen Lance, who wrote the book for the show. I've written all the lyrics and the music. And what I wanted to do was create a work of fiction inspired by American history, and also to hold up a mirror to the present. Because all of the xenophobia and homophobia and anti-Semitism, all of the stuff that's layered into that witch hunt that went through several decades, sadly is all too familiar today. So old wine in new bottles.
Certainly. So this has really a great deal of meaning for us now. And can you set us up dramatically a bit for what you're going to sing and play?
Yes. Nathan Green, our hero, our protagonist, is a young writer who's been spirited from New York to Hollywood to doctor a script. He finds out that it's because the man that was fired is blacklisted and is going to be indicted and for the first round of hearings in Washington, D.C. Somehow along the way, Nathan begins a very torrid affair with a famous actor. And in the second act, Nathan's roommate says, "You must cease and desist immediately. There's no way this can end well. For people like us in this town, we're completely disposable." And the song is called Plaything. And since you're nodding, I think that's my cue to start.
I would love to hear it. We're all eagerly awaiting.
Okay, I'm going to try it without glasses.
Thanks for sharing your music with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Plaything from the red carpet.
He takes you to dinner, he picks the best wine. So keen and attentive, his eyes seem to shine. You're caught on the hook now, he reels in the line. You're just his plaything. He makes such an effort, he goes to extremes. Stays up through the night as you pour out your dreams. Sends all the right signals, how perfect it seems. You're still his plaything. You can't trust a man in this city of sin. He's holding the aces, he's playing to win. The lock on his heart is state of the art. You can knock, you can pound, but he won't let you in. He holds you so close now, you hear your heart sing. And sooner or later, you're pierced by his sting. This Hollywood hero is after one thing. Need I say more? So get up off the floor, get off of that ride. Grab most of your pride and what's left of your hide. 'Cause it's just a few steps from plaything to whore.
James Bassi, Plaything from the red carpet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that you did an amazing job, not only with the music, but the lyrics are just crackerjack. I love
I can
them.
honestly say it's the first time I've set the word whore music, and it may be the last.
There's a first time for everything.
Indeed.
It's very musical theater, and yet it has a little contemporary tang to it. Delicious.
That's sort of the idea. It's supposed to be filtered through a 1940s lens, but also be very today. Right. That's the plan anyway. So
where is this musical going? Where do you hope to go with it?
What a wonderful question. I'm so glad you asked that. Stephen and I finished a second draft, and we had a reading of it around Thanksgiving time at Temple University, where I was teaching composition for a semester, sort of adjunct. And we were sort of on our way to draft 3 when the world changed. We were on our way to doing an actors equity reading. So it's a little bit in limbo right now, but we're hoping to get back to it ASAP, really.
Wonderful.
So
We'd love to hear more.
Thank you so much. Well, you will actually.
Save us a little piece. We'll taste it again later.
Absolutely. Okay.
I would love to know how you flow so seamlessly between musical theater writing and your classical compositions, which I have been able to experience.
Oh.
What's your take on that? Is there, do you
my
feel
take
the genres flow together, or good music is good music?
Yes, Peter Schickley's radio show, which was incredible. He quoted Duke Ellington, who said, "If it sounds good, it is good." And basically, I have such a various musical appetite I'm not a vegan. You know what I mean?
Right,
I'm an omnivore, and I
right.
think from a young age I fell in love with. I mean, I was studying Chopin and Beethoven, but I fell in love with Gershwin and Sondheim and Harold Arlen and the great jazz people, Bill Evans and Shirley Horn, and all this stuff everything sort of cross pollinates ultimately. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, I'd love to segue from that to something really completely different so we can see the many sides of James Bassi. Um, so we call this segment is called the Village to the Vatican for the reason that Maestro Bassi was commissioned by Voices of Ascension to write a Christmas piece. And then lo and behold, after their premiere of it, it wound up some time later being sung at midnight mass at the Vatican. Unbeknownst and alert, the composer himself was not alerted to this. So we're going to hear Quem Pastores Laudavere by Jim Bassi. And I want to just put up for a moment the text for this. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. And you'll see that it's a Christmas text, but not at all directly liturgical or biblical. It's a 14th century text and an anonymous one. So I'm sharing my screen and you're going to see it for a moment. Okay, so here's the text. You can see authorship unknown, 14th century, and it had been set in Germany in 1555. And so we have good history behind us. It's basically the story of the shepherds and their meeting with the angels and three kings. But as I say, not entirely biblical. And Jim makes of it a thing of great beauty. We're going to hear more about that in just a second. I want to invite Dennis on. Maestro Dennis Keene, the director of Voices of Ascension, is here with us, and we're going to ask him a little bit about the circumstances under which this piece was commissioned. So welcome, Maestro Keene.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
You
What
bet.
can you tell us about the birth of this piece?
Well, Jim has written more pieces for us, I think, than any other composer. We've commissioned him many, many times. And I don't remember when, but many years ago, I talked to him about writing us a Christmas carol. We do a candlelight Christmas concert every single year. And so we're always in need of material. And I said, I'd like something that's really beautiful and something simple that the choir would like to sing, that the audience would like to hear, and maybe other choirs would like to do. Well, when I got the score to the thing, well, it was just clear from the beginning that this was going to be a huge hit. I mean, you'll hear in a second, the melody that he wrote is one of the prettiest melodies, the most haunting melodies I've ever heard. And I think it has maybe 5 stanzas worth or something, 4 stanzas plus a stanza of humming, I think. And the tune is the same, but the vocal arrangements are different each time. And it's just exceedingly good. And I told him, whatever you do, don't use the word whore in the text.
Oh, I'm never going to live this down.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So, and we are going to hear your exquisite performance with Voices of Ascension, a recording of your fantastic group. And we're just going to precede it with a few segments from the Vatican performance. And as I mentioned earlier, this was a big surprise for the composer as well as everyone around him. So Jim, tell us a little bit about how you found out it was happening.
Well, I was on my way to midnight mass rehearsal at the church I currently sing at Corpus Christi, and one of my pals from the choir said, they just did your anthem in Rome. So, what anthem? So it's been published by Oxford University Press. It's been out there for a while now. I think the wonderful director John Scott, who used to direct, who sadly passed away a few years ago, he brought it to the attention, I think, of Maestro Palombella in Rome, and they ended up doing it. And the reason we're mashing up the Voices of Ascension performance is the Pope was done incensing the altar, and so they cut off the choir before the piece was done. So Julian has created from Casa Italiana has created sort of a mashup of the two performances for us, which is another first, I would say. So there it is.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go to the recording, starting again, as we've been saying, with the Vatican performance, and then segueing into the Voices of Ascension. So here we are with Quem Pastores Laudaveres. must be an awesome experience to hear your music performed in such a sublime way. And to be in that line of, tradition from Arcangelo Corelli and his, 1690 Christmas concerto at the Vatican. You're right in line there, Jim Bassi.
Yeah, and I'm thrilled. First of all, Dennis was conducting the world premiere performance 21 years ago, and some of my friends that sang that premiere, I know are in the audience tonight. So, hello everybody. But this piece has had such an unusual history, going from there to the Vatican. That journey it's been extraordinary, really.
Yeah, it really gives me goosebumps just to see it as part of that sublime ritual. Just gorgeous. And Maestro Keene, your group's performance is just exactly what you described that you wanted. It draws you into the tranquility of the season, and it's balm for the soul. It
And
really
nothing
is.
against all the excellent performances, but I think that premiere performance with Ascension is still pretty much the best. There's something about a first performance,
Oh yeah,
but also done with such care.
right.
Incredible. So thanks.
So,
Thanks again, Dennis.
Yeah. So, and I understand that Voices of Ascension and Maestro Keene have commissioned several pieces from Jim Bassi.
Yes, indeed.
Not only this
We certainly have.
socially distanced piece that's coming up, but
Yes.
one of the things actually that really excited me when I was thinking about what to program next on Music for Interesting Times was hearing Jim's arrangement of I Won't Dance by Jerome Kern, performed by Voices of Ascension. A friend of mine from another group of mine at Casa Italiana turned me onto it, and it was just so exciting to hear. And that was my initial excitement about getting in touch with Jim. But that was a commission, wasn't it, Dennis? So can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be?
Well, that was quite a story, actually. In the 1990s, Voices of Ascension, we made a lot of recordings for Delos International, and the recordings sold really well, and they were very popular, still are today. And a lot of record companies want their classical artists to do crossover recordings so that they start to sell to a wider audience. Crossover meaning instead of us doing just classical, to do something that is pop or something like that. We finally settled on doing some songs of Jerome Kern, mostly because nobody had done that. And I happen to adore the songs of Jerome Kern. So Delos had an in-house arranger who did most of their crossover recording arrangements. And that person made all the arrangements for us. And unfortunately, the music didn't arrive to me until 1 week to the day before the first recording session. And when I took a look at these arrangements, I went, oh my God, we have a problem here, well, I don't know how to put this delicately, but they were terrible. And the guy is very, very gifted, but he was the wrong person to hire to make arrangements of Jerome Kern songs. But we'd already hired a complete orchestra and chorus. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I just picked up the phone and called Jim, and I said, help.
Story of my life.
And it was kind of like those stories of, Donizetti writing the last act the night before the premiere and things. I think that Jim went to work and probably didn't sleep for a week. And, the scores were barely done when we had them, but they're terrific arrangements.
Terrific arrangements.
Yeah,
yes.
Terrific. You're going to play which one? I can't.
I won't dance. So I just want to say that first of all, kudos to you, Dennis, for pivoting so wonderfully. I know that I've been
there wasn't much option.
That is such a hard place to be where, you know, you're counting on something, it doesn't come through, and, you know, you have to really act fast and make a fast decision. So that was brilliant deciding and brilliant administration of your tasks. And it speaks certainly to the crackerjack nature of your group to be able to, you know, get these new arrangements in hand and just go into the studio and record.
That's what
Fantastic.
they do.
Phenomenal. All right, so this was the impetus for this entire program, I have to say. This beautiful arrangement, which really captures the spirit of the original and adds some little tweaks that are just delightful. So we're going to hear now James Bassi's arrangement of I Won't Dance by Jerome Kern, sung by Voices of Ascension.
Brings back memories.
So, bravo, bravo. So absolutely ideal as an arrangement. You know, it just suits the sort of tongue-in-cheek and wry nature of the joke. I won't dance, not because I don't like you, but because I like you too much. You know, and that little punctuation at the end from the orchestra that just twists it in a little bit more deeply,
Also,
you know.
Gina, props to the, I think it was the Orion, is it the Orion String Quartet? Because we had to make like half of an album overnight. We had to downsize from an orchestra to a string quartet and from a choir to a chamber choir. So I heard the last verse as big band, but I only had 4 strings. So I had to sort of pretend it was big band and let, you know, God take care of the rest or something.
Yeah,
So.
you really make that work when you know, change tempo into that sort of stride feeling. I can imagine how wonderful you are as a music director of music theater as well. So, well, that was our sort of taste of lots of things that Voices of Ascension and Jim Bassi have collaborated on. You know, Voices of Ascension is our neighbor, the neighbor of Casa Italiana, Zerilli-Marimò. You're at, what, 12 West 11th?
Our offices are at 12 West 11th, and we often perform in Church of the Ascension, which is
Right.
5th Avenue and 10th Street, although we are a separate organization.
I see. And, Casa Italiana is at 24 West 12th. And, we could have walked around the corner to meet each other, but instead we're meeting on Zoom.
There we
So
go.
these are interesting times. But many, many thanks to you, Dennis Keene, for your being here today and for your commissions and for all that you do to keep people in spirit. I know that Voices of Ascension is putting out daily inspiration. What's your slogan? Virtual music, real inspiration?
That's correct. Yeah, our
Perfect.
voices of connection. Yeah.
So wonderful. Thank you for doing that and for all your
Thank
great
you.
service. So we'll say arrivederci to you, and we'll see you soon.
Grazie.
Okay, prego.
Adesso.
Okay, so Jim, that, I'm sure that commission that you're working on with the virtual socially
incredible.
distant piece is keeping you busy. What else has been keeping you busy? And,
Well, I'm thrilled that I'm writing another
productive.
choral piece for Voices of Ascension, which will be a very somber, dark kind of thing. I've also, since lockdown, I've been writing a lot of piano music just to keep writing. The theater stuff is a little bit on hiatus. So I've written a ballade for piano, and I'm working on a series of piano preludes. And I'd like to share one of them with you tonight, if I may.
That would be fantastic. It's a totally different genre from what we've been hearing so far. I just want to mention to our listeners that we have our Q&A enabled, and feel free to type in anything that you might have on your mind about any of the program or questions for Maestro Bassi or me. Let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll try to take some questions at the end and address what you're thinking about. So let's see what you've been doing. What's the name of this piece? Does it have a...
This is just part of an ongoing series of piano preludes that I'm writing, and this is prelude number 3.
Beautiful. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay.
What a delightful gem. I really love that there are those two very different voices speaking in very different sonorities.
Yeah, they're all in there
ranges.
somewhere.
That's so many voices. It's really a conversation. It's a dialogue.
It's funny, my dear friend Mark Kuss, who's a fabulous composer and a dear friend, and I know he's out there tonight, he talks about some composers having a narrow bandwidth, meaning you always recognize their style, but their pieces tend to all sound the same. I seem to be rabidly against that. I seem to just crave different sounds with every piece, and often within a piece. And that's just, again, I guess that's just my temperament or my nature, but
Right.
there it is.
Do you compose these at the piano?
Well, so a lot of the piano stuff I have. Yeah, I used to write at the piano all the time, and now I do a lot of writing away from the piano, just taking walks, and I can write, at the dentist's office and at a Starbucks with Ella Fitzgerald going on in the background. Or I feel very free now in terms of how I conceive of things. And when I was younger, I think I was more chained to the piano.
Right. Do you conceive of that as a very pianistic work that would be, exclusively for the piano? Or do you ever hear that as being orchestrated?
I don't know. It's funny. I didn't even consider that, but now that I have that question, I'll put it under my pillow. I don't. I hear it for piano, but I also could hear it for like a small chamber group, maybe. Too.
I just hear that because the sonorities are so distinct between the low voice that
the low
speaks
and the high,
and then the higher. Yeah.
So to create a separation, maybe bring in other instruments. Yeah, that's
gorgeous.
That's a good idea.
It's
I'll
just
give
wonderful.
you full credit one day.
Please do. I'm so glad that you're staying active. I know it's a bit careerist interruptus.
Oh my God.
Right now you'd be out there touring with Tova, or you'd be playing for the Philharmonic.
That's right. I'd be doing gigs at the Philharmonic, working with John Adams, working with the new maestro of the Philharmonic. I was supposed to direct the musical Ragtime in the Hamptons this summer, which a show that I've conducted before. The plan is to do that next summer, so knock wood.
Okay. Yeah, knock wood. Okay. Yeah, I mean, many of us console ourselves by listening to music and feel connected in that way. But to you, the very creator of music, you have to, if the well goes dry, where do you go? How do you refill your well?
Yeah.
How do you, do you have a trick for finding inspiration, or
Just I think the simple need to create is the answer. Yeah. And the best is to have people to write for whom you are writing.
Yes.
I dodged that prepositional problem there. And that doesn't always happen. So right now I'm sort of writing for myself, and hopefully eventually for other people again. So.
Right. But your associations, I'm sure, are very wide. I mean, it's beautiful that you have this connection with Voices of Ascension, and I'm sure you have many, many more.
Gina, I mean, I feel blessed. First of all, thank you for highlighting my work tonight. I'm so grateful to you and Casa. But I'm grateful that I have this sort of bizarre life where I run from symphonic to, choral to cabaret and Broadway, and it's all meaningful for me. I guess it's all meaningful, and each has a different spot in my heart. Each possesses a true place.
For sure. I'm going to take a look at some of our questions here and see if.
Yeah, we will get to the last song. Yes.
Yes, of course.
Great. I just wanted to make sure.
We don't want to keep people waiting too long. Okay, so Lisa Taylor says, I'd love to hear more from the red carpet. We're going to do that. Absolutely,
yes,
Lisa.
Question answered.
We're getting back to it. Let's see. Phyllis Kuby says, what amazingly gorgeous music. What advice do you have for musicians and composers in this virtual world? Is there something you could say about that, Jim?
Well, are they talking about creative inspiration or just trying to pay rent? I'm not sure. I'm not sure in which vein that question's being asked.
Whatever advice you might have.
Well, fiscally speaking, I mean, I'm doing some teaching. It's obviously online right now, and fortunately for me, I love teaching, so that's putting most of the food on the table right now. In terms of composing, I think you should gravitate toward music that you really love and get passionate about it and get to know people that are passionate about it with you. And, there's such an incredibly various field out there. And there's no trend now. Everybody's doing something different. So what I think really, to quote Chekhov, we had to get Anton Chekhov in, to quote Chekhov's The Seagull, Konstantin, the doomed protagonist, who's a writer, starts by writing very avant-garde things, and late in the play he says, it's not a question of new or old forms. All that's important is that every note, every word you write come directly from your heart. So I think as long as you're authentic, and if you're working on something that has meaning for you, hopefully it'll have meaning for other people.
Words of wisdom. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So everyone wants to hear more Red Carpet. We're so
Oh my
excited
God.
about
I'm
your
so
new
excited about this
project.
song.
And tell us about it. What's happening dramatically here?
It sounds a bit of a humble brag to say I'm excited about my own work, but this is one of my favorite songs in the show. There are about 18 numbers in the show, and this is the closing number in the show. Nathan, at the end of the show, after a series of horrible, disgusting power plays and people throwing each other under the bus, Nathan has been implicated as, someone with party connections, and he's being indicted, and he's about to be sworn into the committee. And his dear friend Gwendolyn flies out from Hollywood. It's too long to get into the whole plot. We don't have enough time, but she comes in and surprises him by showing up at the hearings. And she sings this song to him to sort of remind him that he's a person of integrity, and also her message in this song is essentially what the whole show is about. So she's mouthpiecing the wisdom that her character has gained in the course of her journey in the show, because she is kind of a secondary lead. But she's also, in a way, giving us the sort of the uber message of the entire evening.
All right. And the title of the song is?
I'll Be With You.
I'll Be With You, from the Red Carpet by James Bassi. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. I'll be with you through the slander and the lies. I'll be with you through each trial they devise. Someday we'll wake to see a sunrise, when hate can't hide behind a cheap disguise. But today, friend, we're a nation sick with pride, singing anthems as more lives are tossed aside. Though times are ominous and gray, when all the others turn away, I'll be with you. For the moment, thieves and cowards rule the day. Just be patient, watch their power die away. Your freedom lies in who you are, and always know that near or far, I'll be with you.
We all need to take a deep breath after that one. So,
Yeah, me too.
So moving.
Yeah, I don't know. That's sort of an earned moment to have that rather pensive ballad after what the main characters have been through, which is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a dark lit but hopeful piece, if you will.
Yeah.
It leaves us a bit hanging.
It does. But it's so apt, and it's so reflective of more historical periods than just the one that you're talking about.
More than we would like, Gina, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, that's right, Jim. So Well, your wisdom in choosing that particular theme is to be really highly praised. And I just love the lyrics. I think your music is really it does have your signature in it somehow. Although, as you say, you write in many different genres and you capture many different moods, and yet somehow your signature is there. And
that's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Unique. It's a fingerprint. Yeah. So, well.
How are we doing on time? Is there time for another question, or are we done?
We do have time for another question. Let's see. I see another question has come in, so let's see what it is. Let's see. Okay, let's see what Tom has to say. Tom says, not a question, but a comment. I was privileged to have the talents of Jim Bassi as my musical director for cabaret act of Don't Tell Mama. He's not only one of the most talented people I've ever met, but a warm and wonderful human being, and utter joy to work with him. Yes, well, we're finding that out, even though
there's another check I got to send out. Okay. No, that's my dear friend Tom Keeling, who's a brilliantly gifted artist and a wonderful man and good friend. And
I can only imagine what a great collaborator you must be at the piano when somebody's out there in front of folks.
Well, the cabaret thing is sort of interesting because I tend to be an orchestral player. I tend to hear orchestrally when I play, and so that saves, I guess, the singer the trouble of having to hire, other people.
Right.
I mean, I kind of can create some different sounds, and from a theatrical standpoint, like in a nightclub setting, that's very helpful.
Right.
You don't always have the best sound equipment, and you've got to rely on, your own gifts, actually.
Right. What about your arrangements for Deborah Voigt in her Christmas program? Were you at the piano for that, or?
Oh yeah, Debbie. Oh gosh, right. Oh gosh, that was a long time ago. Okay, that's an incredible story, and I'll try to keep it brief. Tom Baker, who's a wonderful tenor, who's living in Minnesota now. Tom used to work for Cammie, and we all know, so Cammie's going the way of so much right now. But in 2001, yes, you heard me, I was writing a Christmas show for Debbie Voigt because Debbie wanted to do a Christmas show at a church in New York, and Tom said, you should call my friend Jim Bassi. Here it is. I'm sort of like the musical fix-it guy. Like, oh, call Jim. He'll whip up something really nice for you. I mean, seriously. But that's a good thing. It's nice. It's nice to be wanted. So she and I got together and started improvising and just doing things, and I got hired. And I wrote some original music for her show. I wrote a lot of arrangements of things, and got to collaborate with Debbie a few times over the course of several seasons after that, with playing a classical recital for her and doing some other things, classical with crossover in it. Yeah. And but I should tell you that Christmas show premiered in December of 2001. So I was writing Christmas arrangements when our world in America changed.
Yes.
I was writing, all through that time, I was writing Christmas music.
Yes, so you are used to creating when times are tough, to say the least.
I remember what notes I was writing the night before. I remember exactly what notes,
Yeah, unbelievable.
It was incredible. It was an incredible experience, and she was absolutely resplendent. I mean, she has an incredible ear and a great sense of all these different styles,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I remember a wonderful recital she did at Alice Tully that was all classical, but she ended with an encore of The Man I Love. The Man I Love.
Oh, yeah. I wrote an encore for her of I Love a Piano, where she sits down and plays. And
what fun.
So she's quite a good pianist.
That's great. So we had one more anonymous question. What's the relationship between your improvising at the piano and your composing?
Oh, wow. These are such great questions, and I feel helpless in answering any of them. I think it's the same drive. I think they're linked. I do love improvising. I think in a way composing is sort of like, in a way, taking the improvisatory impulse and regulating it.
Right.
I'm not. When I was really young, harp glissando, I played a lot of modern dance classes, and and that they don't use Chopin. They want you to play in all these different meters, and so you end up improvising. So I really sort of got my game on with that.
Wow.
Playing for all these dance classes. I think I guess I don't want to make a distinction. I think a good idea is a good idea, and you can come up with it in the most rigorous way or just toss it off
Right.
at the piano. It's all eventually coming from the same place.
Right. But do you find your improvisational skills or the little motifs that you may develop in an improvisation eking their way into your compositions? Do they actually make their way into written form at some point, or an improvisation stays that way?
I think at times they make them in. I think the improvising, the idea of it is that improvising is free, that it almost doesn't matter what the next note is.
Yes.
But ultimately it does. Right. So there are pieces to me that sound improvised and are good pieces. There are also pieces I've heard that sound improvised and aren't as good pieces. So I think what's a question? I think it's a question of having a sense of freedom, but also being able to check it with enough sort of formal underpinning, so that you're not too right-brained.
Yeah, I mean, we almost heard that in "I Won't Dance." I mean, if it were in a chorus, I would almost, imagine that these singers were improvising these little ornaments.
Oh yeah.
That you put in.
So the model for that's more like a 1940s radio hour kind of cluster around the mic kind of vibe I was going for with the vocals with that.
Right.
But
yeah, it's so
but
great.
yeah, I just so in some ways I think they're linked and separate.
Right.
I would
So
say.
Interesting. We never really can get into the mind of a composer if we're not composers.
Oh, who can?
We just really don't understand. But we sort of put you on a pedestal and just say, wow. So we've certainly been on an amazing journey through your music. Lots of genres, lots of really wonderful experiences, both highs and lows. And the ups and the downs. But I really hear you when you say, if it's authentic, if it's coming from a place in your heart, it touches other hearts. And we're really getting that.
Oh,
So
I pray
thank
that's
you
true.
so much. It's so true. We're really so grateful to have your music in our lives. Thank you for it.
Gina, I'm very grateful to you and to Casa and everyone who's helped. Everybody at this organization is truly wonderful and supportive and loving.
Very true.
No, it really is true.
It's really true. So
I wasn't paid to say that. That's really true.
No, that's really true. So thank you so much, Jim Bassi. I want to underline Jim's thanks for Casa Italiana, Julian Sachs with his amazing technical support, his beautiful, mashup or pastiche of the Vatican and the Village for Quem Pastores, and Kostya Kostic for being behind it all, and our fearless leader, director, Stefano Albertini. So many thanks. And
also thanks to our audience for being here.
Thanks to our audience, and thanks to Dennis Keene for his part here. We really appreciated his participation. Thanks, Dennis. And so we'll sign off, and we hope to see you again soon, perhaps in the flesh.
That would be a wonderful thing. I look forward to it. Please, everybody, stay well and safe.
Okay. See you soon. Buonasera.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.